I 30F need the truth, and probably a good kick in the ass regarding my relationship with my partner, 30M, whom I've been with for almost 10 years. What does Reddit think I should do? I am using a throwaway account because the individuals I know browse Reddit. I'm not entirely sure what I am seeking by sharing this here. Perhaps a wake-up call. Maybe someone to reassure me that I am not alone in this situation. Or perhaps for anyone, to understand the entire narrative that I have kept bottled up for all these years, and to tell me if I am losing my mind. I have been with my partner for nearly 10 years. A lot has transpired during that period. I left my home, my family, my country, everything I was familiar with to be with him. It was already a foolish decision, I acknowledge. Yet, I truly believed he loved me. A part of me still believes he does now. We appeared to be happy. At least, I thought we were. I could write pages detailing everything we did together, all we endured as a couple, but it likely holds little significance at this point. A few years back, I returned home to visit my family. This occurred just after the world began to recover from the COVID pandemic. My country was still prohibiting non-citizens from entering, so my partner could not accompany me. Typically, I would have preferred to stay and wait until he could join me, but a friend was tying the knot, and my father had recently undergone a significant medical procedure before COVID and the global lockdown. I wanted to see them as I hadn't been able to during or after his emergency. While I was away, my partner chose to be unfaithful. I add a question mark because it was indeed infidelity, but I still find it difficult to process the entire situation. I learned about it indirectly about a week later and confronted him. I cannot recall how the conversation unfolded. I was so intoxicated by the time he returned home. Upon discovering the evidence and attempting to piece everything together, I crumbled. I turned to wine because it was either that or an overdose on every pill we had, and I couldn't do that to my family. I remember him saying it was a mistake, a rather significant mistake. But fine, we all err. I tried to move forward, or at least I attempted to. Shortly after, he began to behave differently. Something felt off, and I did not like it. During this period, I began to investigate deeper into his instance of infidelity. I uncovered that not only did he create a Tinder account, but he also set up a fake Instagram. It is still active, in fact. How sad or amusing is that? I hacked into his Instagram and discovered the desperate direct messages he sent random models. It made me feel nauseous. He continues to receive emails from Tinder as well, which he is unaware I know about. He is also insistent that he is not on Tinder because he does not have the application. It isn't difficult to activate the app and delete it afterward. You can also access the service via a web browser. I have tried. I even know you can prevent specific individuals from locating your profile. How lovely. Honestly, how can anyone truly trust another these days? Anyway, as more information emerged, the situation started to appear less like a mistake and more like a calculated, deliberate decision. As I mentioned, I could not perceive anything wrong in our relationship. I do not know how many times I asked him why, only to receive the response, "I don't know." It took me far too long to understand that he did what he did solely because he wanted to nothing more, nothing less. I wish I could say that was the conclusion of the tale, but some higher power determined my heartbreak was not yet finished. I discovered he had developed feelings for another woman at work. He even asked her out on a date. When I confronted him about it later, after finding out, he attempted to claim it was not him asking her out but rather that he was only trying to make friends. Okay. It didn't take long for me to understand what was truly happening. I was doing everything in my power to restore our previous relationship. He rejected couples counseling. Is anyone surprised? So I began attending individual therapy to help manage my emotions, including my jealousy and ongoing outbursts. They were never violent. It was more like I would suddenly start crying and questioning why he had done this to me. One weekend, I thought we were making progress. We were enjoying each other's company, and things felt somewhat normal again. But he kept checking his phone, so I looked and saw that he was trying to contact this girl on LinkedIn. I confronted him about it, and he admitted it. I am uncertain why I continued to stay. I believe I held myself responsible. I felt that my emotional outbursts and struggles were pushing him away from me and our relationship. I vowed to improve, to win back his love. I will never forget the day she informed him she was in a relationship. He picked me up from work and stated I never needed to worry again because she didn't want him. Then he opened up about being upset because he thought they had something special and believed it would go somewhere. He could not clarify where that somewhere was. At that moment, I felt utterly small and insignificant. Cue a year filled with struggles. I begged him not to spend time with her. He accused me of trying to isolate him and prevent him from having friends at work. I eventually gave in and stated he could attend social gatherings with work colleagues that included her, but I could not accept him spending one-on-one time with her or messaging her individually. He would return home from these gatherings upset, feeling feelings for her that remained unreciprocated and frustrated from listening to her stories of her romantic conquests while never being one of them. One day, I did something unusual. He asked me why I never surprised him by wearing lingerie, so I did. I wore something nice, heels, everything, for him to see when he arrived home. I had also prepared dinner. He came home, took one look at me, and began lamenting about how this other woman did not want him. Another moment of feeling small, worthless, as though I did not even exist to him. During all of this, he did keep his word, as far as I was aware, that he wouldn't individually meet up or message her, but that did not last long. He began messaging her again after a few months. He made excuses, oh, something terrible happened to her and I'm just checking on her. Fine, whatever. Then it was her birthday. Then it was Christmas, and so forth. I could not discuss it with him, of course. He would instantly become angry and defensive, insisting it was not a problem. When I reminded him of my previous boundary and asked him why he crossed it, he merely stated, I didn't think it was a problem anymore. At this point, I recognize that I am a doormat, but regrettably, it does not end there. He continued spending time with them. He even joined a small sports club they were part of, despite the fact he doesn't even enjoy the sport. About a year ago, amidst all this turmoil, he began becoming friendly with another woman at his job. Friendly enough that he would spend hours with her, outside in his car, late at night, repeatedly. If it wasn't the dead of night, he would talk to her after work, devoting 3 to 4 hours at a time to simply chatting. During this period, he would complain to her about our relationship, particularly my emotional instability. How delightful. I won't pretend I was an uncomplicated person, that I wasn't emotionally unstable half the time. But honestly, who could blame me? Actually, everyone could likely blame me because I consistently allowed myself to endure this situation, but nevertheless. We fought frequently about both these women. It was dreadful, and I still do not understand why I remained. Perhaps it is because I couldn't conclusively prove that he was doing anything overtly dishonest, but he seemingly did not comprehend that his behavior was inappropriate. He just repeatedly accused me of attempting to control him. It has been nearly a year since we were in that turmoil. This time last year, I was on the verge of leaving him. I simply couldn't endure it any longer. Between his continuous fixation on one woman and his countless hours spent with the other, I felt I could not continue. But I did. My foolish self ended up becoming pregnant, and I thought maybe this would alter something. We chose to keep the child. He ceased spending all those hours with that one woman. She essentially vanished from existence. They stopped communicating entirely. Yes, I know what that looks like. I am painfully aware. I still suspect something occurred between them, and she is now some rejected lover, but I have no evidence. I do have her telephone number saved in my phone. I took it from his. I occasionally think about messaging her, but I'm clearly not prepared to confront the truth. He still communicated with the woman he was in love with, though. Very rarely, but he transferred her messages into a folder so I could not easily see them and be triggered. However, things between us were improving. Besides his messaging that girl, I was finally starting to feel more secure in the relationship. The woman he adored left the company, and I prayed that would put an end to it. But naturally, he took it as an opportunity, a reason to continue messaging her. He even sent her a large card when she departed and anticipated that I would not be utterly disgusted by that. Let me clarify that during my pregnancy and even prior to that, when we purchased our house, he continually denied having feelings for her, insisting they were merely friends. She left. I gave birth. He was incredible during labor, supporting me the entire time. I believed we were finally making progress. But no. A few weeks later, I looked at his messages to her and discovered he had sent her several pictures of our daughter. One of him and our daughter. and one of me and our daughter with me cropped out. She inquired about the labor and asked how I was doing. He didn't even mention my name, hardly acknowledged me. Made the whole experience sound like a shared venture. It was this many hours of labor, it was quite traumatizing, spent 4 days in the hospital, etc. After everything we had been through, that was the moment. I had never felt so disrespected in my life. I, the mother of his child, reduced to nothing more than an afterthought. Now here I find myself, with a child and a partner who loves another woman, still enamored with the person who has wounded me more than anyone else in my life. Even after all that has transpired, I do not wish to leave. I love him, but this is destroying me internally. I am unsure how much longer I can endure this. Postpartum depression has hit me hard, and half the time I wonder if I am insane, questioning if he still has feelings for her, despite his assertions that he does not, yet he refuses to cease communicating with her. It is painful. Everything is painful. I do not want my daughter to grow up witnessing her mother being disrespected, used, treated like a doormat, being a failure. I hope to God this narrative encourages someone to leave the person who mistreats them like I am being mistreated. To summarize, my partner is probably inconsiderate, but I am too much of a coward to leave him. Someone please help me regain my sense of reality. Story 2. I, 30F, feel like I've lost my fiancé, 32M, due to my mistake. He's avoidant, I'm anxious. Our dynamic is slowly killing us. Let me start by saying that I, 30F, deeply love my fiancé, 32M. Ever since he entered my life, I have discovered meaning and purpose within it. He supports me in all my endeavors and takes excellent care of me. It feels as though our souls are connected. We are emotionally bonded in countless ways, and he truly is the love of my life. However, as with any relationship, there are highs and lows. Most of our challenges stem from our differing attachment styles. I tend to be anxious while he is avoidant. We have been working on this for over 2 years, but there are moments in our relationship when these issues resurface. Background: at the beginning of our relationship, we faced problems regarding his boundaries with his female best friends. Initially, he often expressed, "I love you," to one of his friends, let's call her P, to conclude their conversations, and had affectionate nicknames for each other. For example, he referred to P as Piggy and one other friend as Boo. He confided in P when we encountered difficulties in our relationship, and he would hang out with B and another friend, whom we will call Z, at his apartment to smoke marijuana. He is the only male present. When I questioned him about the affectionate expressions and nicknames, he became defensive and dishonest, belittling me during our argument and even breaking up with me. Ultimately, we worked through this and agreed to implement boundaries, but the lies and hurtful comments he made, such as that I was not a positive influence in his life and that I should never return to his apartment as I did not bring him peace, deeply wounded me. It seemed like he valued his friend more than our relationship. Fast forward a year, he has upheld his part of the agreement. He no longer hangs out at his place with his female friends, cut ties with P, whom he belittled me for in the past, and we both agreed there would be no more nicknames for his remaining female friends. However, around 6 months ago, while we were watching videos on his phone, I noticed B text him saying, "Boo, let's play badminton." This bothered me because he was still allowing her to call him Boo, despite our explicit agreement to eliminate such nicknames. I have never restricted him from playing badminton with B and Z. That has been a regular activity. What troubled me was that he permitted B to maintain her nickname for him. I did not confront him that day, but when badminton day arrived, I reminded him about our boundaries and mentioned that he was still being called Boo by B. He feigned ignorance to my message, a typical avoidant response, replying to other topics in our conversation but ignoring mine. I pressed him to acknowledge my concern. He became defensive, responding with, "What do you want me to do about that?" I felt frustrated and insisted that he needed to set boundaries with B, asserting that no one else should use terms of endearment toward him besides his girlfriend. I even asked if my boundaries were merely a joke to him. He said he would speak to her, but then grew cold in our conversations afterwards. His coldness further frustrated me, another avoidant behavior. So, in my anxious state, I asked him why he was acting that way. He became annoyed and asked for space. Anyway, we eventually resolved the matter after some time apart. It's worth mentioning that B and Z have also been speaking negatively about me in their group chat. There was one incident when I saw a message from B pop up on my fiancé's phone while we were playing games together, stating, "Once you've had a girlfriend, you're restricted from so many things. Look at this video, it perfectly describes you." I pretended not to notice that notification in the interest of maintaining peace. What am I forbidding? They're smoking marijuana at my fiancé's apartment while he is the only male present. This showed me that B does not respect boundaries. She seems to justify her behavior with my fiancé and portray me as overly controlling. I find her utterly disrespectful. Anyway, fast forward to 2 months ago, just this December, my fiancé proposed to me. Naturally, I accepted. He is my soulmate. We experienced some challenges due to our differing styles, but the positives far outweigh the negatives, and I am incredibly excited to share my life with him. Yet, a week after his proposal, he deceived me. He claimed he had fallen asleep at his desk at the office for about an hour, but I saw Ztek's Instagram story showing him playing badminton with B. He misled me, went out with B and Z without informing me, blatantly disregarding my boundaries. I felt furious but kept it inside. I thought, how can he kneel and propose to me, promising a lifetime together, and then, a week later, blatantly lie to me and violate my boundaries? How can I take his promise seriously when just 7 days later, he tells me a major falsehood? He had previously committed to never lying again regarding my boundaries, yet he did just that. I did not want to ruin our Christmas holiday, as we had many plans, so I tried to ignore it. However, I could not help but feel annoyed by him over minor issues during the holiday season, fueled by hidden resentment from his lie. This led to increased tension between us throughout December. When we were away on a trip, and I used his phone to take pictures, I noticed a message pop up on Discord that said, "Merry Christmas, P00 pass," with a girl's profile picture. I did not recognize her, and he had never mentioned her to me. Trusting him had become difficult due to all the lies he had told, making me feel as though I could not obtain a clear answer unless I uncovered the truth myself. I acknowledge that this is a regrettable behavior, but I snooped. I checked their messages and learned she was 29 years old, just 1 year younger than me. She is one of his online gaming friends. I sought more information about this unknown friend, and their exchanges mostly revolved around gaming. As I scrolled further back, I stumbled upon their messages following our first date. My fiancé and I met through the dating app Bumble, and he had mentioned to her that when he first saw me, I did not appear as attractive in person as in my pictures. He expressed that he lost all excitement upon seeing me for the first time. He noted that he had a good time on our first date, but could not shake the idea that he was not physically drawn to me. As time went on and we went on additional dates, he eventually fell for me, telling himself that physical appearance fades over time, so he might as well be with someone who adores and cares for him. Reading this felt like a slap in the face. Certain thoughts clicked in my mind. Perhaps this is why it has been easy for him to release me during arguments, since he does not truly see me as worthy. He has broken up with me during approximately 5 arguments, stating via text that he was done, and blocking my number during our conflicts, another avoidant behavior. I, being anxious, have always sought him out again. My insecurities overwhelmed me, causing me to spiral into negative thoughts. Consider the mental burden I was carrying: 1, the lies a week after he proposed, and 2, the painful realization that he did not view me as good enough, feeling as though he viewed me as unattractive. In January, we began planning our wedding. He indicated that he wanted to invite B and Z. I finally lost my temper and told him I was aware of his lies and how he violated my boundaries for them. This sparked a significant argument. He slammed the table, expressing frustration because he felt that not inviting them would mean cutting off his friendships. I informed him that I could not bear to walk down the aisle knowing they were present, considering they have spoken ill of me, and that he lied to me right after proposing, allegedly for their benefit. Then, I made the biggest mistake of my life. With my pent-up frustrations, I allowed anger to drive my words during our argument to the extent that I told him I had never found him physically appealing on our first date. I highlighted his physical insecurities and used them against him. It felt as though he was too proud in our relationship, always being right and the one pursued, so I bluntly told him that I hadn't found him physically attractive from the very beginning. This cruel act deeply hurt him, and I regret it immensely as it has damaged our relationship. He conveyed that he entrusted his entire being to me, revealing that he rarely opens up to anyone, including his parents, only for me to trample on his feelings and undermine his self-esteem like that. He explained that he gains his confidence from my love. From the way I hold him and look at him, everything I used to provide for him is now gone. A month has passed since this incident, and he continues to act distant. He has communicated that he feels intense resentment towards me at times, attempting to numb himself against the pain. He mentioned that he no longer cares about my daily experiences and that any magic has vanished. He said my words hold no influence over him anymore. He expressed that he does not want to be reliant on me any longer and has no desire to exert effort towards our relationship. He perceives my actions as selfish since, in his view, I am taking from him, referring to removing his female friends from his life. He regards me as vengeful. After I admitted to snooping and discovering his messages about our first date, he believes I'm retaliating for what I found. He remarked that he used to see me as a sunny yellow, but now the color he perceives in my soul is purple. I feel utterly exhausted. I have tried everything, crying to him, composing a song for him, apologizing multiple times, even suggesting I would invite B and Z to the wedding, which led to the significant confrontation. He has declined. I have offered reassurances that I am working through my triggers, but as I mentioned, he no longer believes my words hold any value. We are attending counseling, and it is our second session, yet progress feels stagnant. Each session leaves us with a negative impression, like ripping off a band-aid as we confront our problems. He typically grows colder towards me following these discussions. For those who have navigated anxious, avoidant relationships successfully, what advice do you have? Or anyone who has shared similar experiences regarding boundaries, please share your insights. I am desperate to salvage my relationship, which is why I am seeking counsel here. We are still moving forward with wedding preparations. He states that when he knelt to propose, he committed to a lifelong partnership with me. Nevertheless, it feels as if he is erecting an insurmountable wall that I cannot break through. He has been emotionally numb for a month now. I fear entering a marriage devoid of love. We are set to wed in 6 months, and I feel overwhelmed. Is reconciliation even feasible at this stage? Story 3. My 25F boyfriend, 27M, is lying to me and hiding things. I don't know what to do. Disclaimer: this post is quite lengthy and may lack coherence. My apologies in advance. My partner and I have been together for more than 6 years. Over the last 2 years, he has become somewhat secretive regarding his adult content consumption. Typically, we watch it together during our intimate moments, and we are very open about these topics. He has also developed an interest in anal play. Initially, we did not engage in it much because it was uncomfortable for me, but working on it and him occasionally exploring it has made it a little more enjoyable. It was not something I was initially into, but it makes him incredibly aroused, which consequently makes me very aroused as well. I have also noticed on his phone after we finished and he left the room that he was viewing male-female threesomes with a significant amount of male-on-male action in the videos. For instance, both the female and male would be performing oral on the other male, among other things. Additionally, I saw transgender male to female, not safe for work subreddits and gay adult content subreddits that he seemed to be viewing. I truly have no problems with this whatsoever. I identify as bisexual and am curious myself. However, when I inquired about it and asked if he was interested in exploring these topics, he outright denied being gay and claimed he was only looking at those materials to find toys for himself. We have shopped together online and in stores specifically for toys for him, and he has owned several but has never liked any of them. We have used them together, and he has explored them alone. Since I asked him about this, perhaps a year ago, it has not been discussed again, but I suspect he was not being truthful because he was also messaging other men while masturbating. He told me he was searching for a third partner for a threesome for us, which I, too, want to experience and find exciting, but it has been a year and nothing has happened. Towards the end of January, I noticed he was acting unusually when I had his phone. Then, the other night, while we were in the midst of intimacy, he revealed he had found someone and had been searching for a while. I was taken aback because I had asked about it 2 weeks prior, and we had an entire discussion where he did not mention anything. However, as we were in the moment, I chose not to say anything and asked if he could share pictures. He claimed he did not have any because they were discussing it on Snapchat, but that the person resembled him and liked anime, which we do. I was excited, so I did not inquire further, and we continued. The next day, while playing a game on his phone, I decided to look at his Reddit account, hoping to find images of the guy. The first thing that caught my attention was that there were no messages at all on his regular account, which made me think he deleted his not safe for work account voluntarily after our last conversation. I had never asked him to do that. I surmised that perhaps he had logged in again under a new account, containing messages from various individuals. The majority were from males or transgender females, one of whom seemed to have reached out initially. To my surprise, there were photos in the chat with the person he added on Snapchat, both normal and partially not safe for work, that he certainly could have shown me but opted not to. My partner also mentioned the night before that he got to see the guy finish while they were chatting, and after seeing the messages, I realized it was something my partner had solicited. Additionally, I had requested my partner to redownload Snapchat so I could share pictures with him, but he refused, stating he did not want an influx of notifications. I assured him that if he only added me, he would not receive alerts from others and would only hear from me, but he insisted that it would be too much trouble. I did not intend to invade his privacy by going through his Reddit account. I was just hoping to find the person's name for harmless social media stalking to see what he looked like, especially if he was going to engage sexually with my partner and me. Of course, discovering all the messages and realizing what my partner chose not to disclose to me, along with adding someone new on Snapchat, hurt me deeply, prompting me to discuss it with him. I only mentioned the Snapchat situation, emphasizing that it had never occurred to me that he would consider being sneaky, for lack of a better term, about communicating with someone else. I also pointed out that I was not the first person he chose to add, since he only did it to exchange risque messages and have the images texts disappear. He explained it was to create a surprise for when it happened and claimed he didn't try to hide it. The notifications could have popped up at any time. However, he did hide it, as he had grown increasingly frustrated with me using his phone since mid to late January, something he had never done before. Moreover, he had Snapchat notifications disabled the night he informed me about the other individual. I did not invade his privacy in this instance. He had shown me his Snapchat, and I noticed the notification in the app indicating he needed to enable them. After that, I wanted to converse with him about Reddit, but he preferred to go to sleep and did not bring it up again. I wanted to address how I was feeling because it was genuinely hurting me, and I did not want it to harm our relationship. Later, I went on his phone again to confront him directly about the issue, only to discover that the not safe for work account had been logged out and Snapchat notifications were enabled. This surprised me, and I simply set the phone down and cried in the shower for almost 2 hours while he slept. I am puzzled as to why he would claim he was not trying to hide it as a surprise for me, which seems logical, but then mention it randomly while we were intimate. It was not as if we were having sex when he just blurted it out. We have been intimate multiple times since he began communicating with the other individual, approximately 2 weeks. I also do not understand why he excluded me from the decision-making process if it was meant for me. I've expressed my desire to speak with the person before we meet, so I would feel more comfortable, as I also want to be attracted to them. I understand that snooping through his Reddit was not appropriate, but there are so many aspects he did not communicate with me. Can anyone please tell me if I am being unreasonable and need to get over myself? I love this man wholeheartedly, and I am uncertain about how to cope with my feelings of distress. Once again, I do not mind if he is gay, bisexual, or curious. I struggle with the fact that he would lie to me, conceal details, and then avoid having a meaningful discussion about it. It does not help that I have never known him to act this way, and I feel as if I do not truly know him. On top of all this, if he is gay or bisexual, I do not want to pressure him into disclosing anything, but if he feels uncomfortable talking to me or is confused, then what does that mean for our relationship? Please help. Story 4. My perfect BF 35M. of 3 years has been sexting other women behind my 22F back. I understand. What a cliche. An older man dates a younger woman and experiences an ego boost while being unfaithful. Let me share with you our incredible love story, though. My boyfriend, 35 years old, has always been a wonderful partner. He was what I considered to be the most emotionally mature person I had ever encountered. He has a loving family that cherishes him, close friends he has known for over 15 years, and he appeared to be a kind, caring, and attentive companion. He has supported me through many challenges since I met him, and I envisioned my future with him. I completely trusted him and had no idea he was engaging in such behavior. I trusted him so deeply that I have never looked through his phone. In fact, I didn't even know the password because I never needed to access it. We were supposed to move in together this month. I thought everything was fine. The situation began when I had a strange feeling one day. I asked him to send me pictures from a recent trip from his phone to mine, and he appeared apprehensive about doing so, making excuses. I confronted him, stating that he was being suspicious and making me feel uncomfortable, which was unusual for him. He offered me a sincere apology and gave me his phone to send the pictures. However, since he acted strangely, I felt compelled to search through his phone. Keep in mind he had just acquired a new phone, so I scrolled through his messages, finding nothing even slightly suspicious. Then I thought, I wonder what's in his recently deleted pictures, and when I looked, I discovered numerous nudes of himself. I thought, this man didn't send these to me, so who is he sending them to? I remembered that his old phone was in his room, and while he was on a work call, he couldn't leave his desk for a time. I pretended I was going to the bathroom to grab his old phone, and within seconds, I found incriminating messages. I saw messages from about 3 different girls, and when I went to Snapchat, I attempted to check this on the other phone, but he didn't have it installed. I found messages from roughly 10 different girls. I was genuinely stunned. He was speaking inappropriately with them, even though he is typically the most conservative and reserved man I've ever been with, despite knowing my interests in those topics. There were explicit pictures and vulgar messages from so many women. Naturally, I confronted him after discovering all this and exclaimed, "What the hell?" I allowed him to explain himself because I genuinely wanted to understand why he acted this way, especially since I have always been a good girlfriend to him. We communicate well, argue rarely, and have a satisfying sex life. I simply could not comprehend his motive. His explanation was that he felt unprepared for me to move in and didn't want to express that concern, fearing it would upset me. I had asked him multiple times if he was really ready for me to move in, and I wanted to ensure he was on board. In fact, I had my own doubts about it that I discussed with him. He had many chances to voice his feelings. He claimed that, due to his commitment issues, he acted out in the worst manner. The messages did seem to align with when we began discussing my moving in. He insisted that nothing physical occurred, and I believe him because the messages never progressed beyond explicit conversations or pictures. From what I observed, there were no emotional ties. He said it felt like pornography to him. I obviously questioned whether he was being unreasonable when he stated this. I genuinely do not think that communicating with any of those women held any significance for him, yet I still cannot come to terms with his actions. I have ended our relationship, but maintain communication because we were supposed to move in together this month. The primary reason I intended to live with him was financial, so this situation is significantly complicating my life. He has cried and pleaded, expressing deep shame for his actions, which is typical in these circumstances. I believe he is sincere in his remorse. Now he claims he is prepared to move in together because losing me has opened his eyes. I told him I would attend therapy with him and work on our issues, since I had planned to move in with him, and I feel like I have no other options at this point. I informed him that there is a significant possibility I may not be able to forgive him, and that we would be living together as roommates. He said he is fine with that. We had already decided to have separate rooms because I appreciate having my own space, so I won't have to be around him more than I want. Do you think it would be a mistake to follow through with moving in? I understand he is dishonest. I am acutely aware of it. However, given my financial situation, I would like to continue with my plan. If things improve and I begin to trust him again, that's great. If not, I will move out when I am ready. I can still tolerate being near him. He is generally a good person despite the situation, and I believe he loves me. I am uncertain about what to do, but am considering the option of giving him another chance. He would need to be monitored much more closely this time around. Should I go ahead and move in? Or is that an utterly foolish idea?